and just wanted to mention I met with Edward Galabai in my office last week, and he was very thankful for being allowed to stay in Canada. So I appreciate your last minute help, but hopefully in the future your department can respond a bit more quickly in cases like this. I want to talk about student direct stream first. I wrote you in December 2nd last year about including Bangladesh in the student direct stream, and it's proven that this is a much more reliable pathway to increase approval rates for students. And it's been 3 months since I've not heard an answer from you. The High Commissioner of Bangladesh appeared at this committee in February and implored us to make a recommendation that his country be included in the SDS. You have many Bangladeshis watching these proceedings right now. The High Commissioner is very engaged in this. Students in Bangladesh are very interested. They are the brightest and the best that Bangladesh has to offer, and of course they're willing to share them with us. They bring great benefits to our country. And so my question for you is, do you support Bangladesh being included in the student direct stream, and will you immediately instruct your officials to make this happen?
So first of all, I'm not going to immediately make directions or instruction in this committee, but I am very, very open to expanding the student direct stream to different countries. I think where it has been implemented, it's been shown to have an incredible success rate. The reason that I don't want to do things immediately is we see it successful because the legwork goes into its implementation before the announcements are made. We want to make sure that we give our officials and department staff the opportunity to partner with financial institutions and organizations on the ground in different countries, so we don't make an announcement that is not set up for failure. If we do the legwork first and figure out that we can find partners that will allow us to have the program succeed, I'm certainly open to it.
What sort of a timeline are we looking at? Like, Pakistan was added in 2019. Are we talking a week, a month, a year, 10 years? What's the timeline?
Look, I don't have a specific date for you, I'm afraid. And I think in the second half of the meeting, if you wanted to speak with the officials about some of the steps that would be involved to actually achieve that kind of progress, I think they'd be able to describe for you what would go into it to get a better sense of what's involved.
Okay, so regarding Ukraine and these new programs that you have put in place, you've said there's no limit to the number of applicants that are going to be able to apply from the Ukraine. So does that mean that your overall numbers for the year are going to be increasing?
No, and I think there's a really important distinction. Our immigration levels plan refers to permanent residents. What we're doing is a very innovative thing with the response to Ukraine is we're leveraging a temporary stream, but extending the timelines that people are allowed to remain in Canada for up to 2 years, and then providing them with an open work permit. So it's a different program that doesn't impact our overall immigration levels. And one of the reasons we chose this pathway is because it leverages one of the most powerful streams that exist in our immigration system, which is used to processing up to 2 million people a year who may come as tourists, for example, and it won't have an impact on our immigration levels plan.
So maybe to look at it a different way, you said that you're going to shift resources from different countries in order to, or for different streams, I'm not exactly sure. Are some countries going to be losing out in the short term because of this shift?
Not specific countries, but if you think of it this way, the people who are working to process temporary residency visas today are some of the same people who will be processing applications under this new express authority to travel to Canada for Ukraine. So to the extent that there are people who have applications to come visit Canada as a tourist, there could be some impact. I do think we can mitigate these impacts over time with further investments to backstop the changes that we've made. And by not pulling them out of certain other programs, I think we can protect against a significant impact on some of the permanent residency streams. But if we have the same people processing these new applications as we're processing temporary residence visas and work permits and study permits, there will be some impact, but we're doing everything we can to mitigate the extent of that impact.
Okay, so in response to Mr. Dhaliwal's questions about resources, you mentioned the biometric kits were being moved to Eastern Europe. What is the capacity of our embassies and consulates in Eastern Europe to process these applications, and how much time will the biometrics burden add to the processing time?
So it won't necessarily add anything because we can process biometrics in parallel to the processing of the application for the new travel document. The average processing time for a biometrics assessment is a few days, maybe 5 days or so. And that can be done within the period that the other application is being processed. But just to give you a sense of the scale of what our capacity is.
Maybe could I just interrupt, because there's another, I think, important question. There are Russians that are forced to fight for Putin, and they're now surrendering as prisoners. What is the plan for these guys who might want asylum in Canada?
Right now, the program we've announced applies to Ukrainian nationals who are fleeing the war. To the extent that new facts emerge, I think we have to be very cautious in how we proceed because we want to make sure that we're not sparing any effort. We can revisit this question when we have more time, but this is a phenomenon that's emerged literally in the last number of hours and days.